Hello and welcome. My name is Sunshine, the Project Manager, Sunshine Educational Resources. If you have been following us on this channel, in my intro video, I said we will be running an online lessons in chemistry and we will cover the entire Nigerian Senior Secondary School curriculum as well as the examination syllabus of the West African Examination Council, WAEC, and that of the National Examination Council, NECO. We will also prepare students for Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAM, into universities, polytechnic and colleges of education. For you to benefit from our resources, all that you're expected to do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is a subscription button by the right hand side of this video. Click on that button to subscribe to our channel so that anytime we release our videos, you'll be notified and you can have access to our videos. As students in the senior secondary school, knowing the extent to which you have covered your curriculum is very important, as this will enable you to prepare yourself ahead of time so that you can seek for help where necessary. And so I'm going to introduce you to the scheme of work in chemistry, starting from SS1 first term right away. Alright, now we are on the scheme. This is Education Resource Center, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. As you can see, this is the senior secondary teaching scheme, which consists of topics that we will be treating from SS1 down to SS3. Now this is the 2014 edition. As you can see, this is SS1. Alright, now we're going to navigate to chemistry, so that there are lists of subjects here. You can see the table of content, and I will not be able to take you through all the content, but I'm just going to select one of them, and that is chemistry. So let's navigate to chemistry immediately. Alright, now we are on chemistry first term SS1. As you can see, it's divided into week, topics and content, and activities. Just like I said in the intro video, it is important for you to know the list of topics you're going to cover as a student from SS1 up to SS3. This is to enable you know how far the teacher has gone in the teaching exercise, and should you not know some of the topics, or if the teacher has not treated some of the topics, then you can also use this opportunity to learn some of the topics that you've not done in the classroom here. So as you can see here, the first thing we're going to treat is Introduction to Chemistry. Introduction to Chemistry under week 1, and then you have topic and content. You have Introduction to Chemistry, and under this we're going to learn the meaning of chemistry. It's important that you have to understand, have an overview of what chemistry is. And then number 2 is career prospect tied to chemistry. This is also very important because it's going to help you or ginger you. If you know the career prospect associated with chemistry, it's going to help build your interest as you move on. Now under activities here, that is teacher's activity. The teacher will define chemistry, gives example and illustration. A teacher will guide you to identify career prospect in chemistry. He's going to use posters and charts to guide class discussion, and then he's going to come into the classroom with the following instruction materials, like pictures of chemical industries and laboratories, posters and charts, instructional resources locally made. In our section here, we will try to, as much as possible, use live instructional resources to demonstrate what we teach in these chemistry lessons. Now let's go to week 2 now. This is the end of week 1. At the end of week 1, it's expected that you're supposed to have knowledge of all these things that are here now. Now let's go to week 2. Now this is week 2. This is week 2, still under Introduction to Chemistry. Here in week 2, you will study adverse effect of chemicals, drugs, and drug abuse, poisoning, corrosion, and pollution. And then you will also be introduced to scientific method. This is very important, scientific method. Then let's see what the teacher will do. Application of chemistry and adverse effect on chemicals. Um, this is what the teacher will talk about. Number 2, take student to visit chemical industries. Example: plant, dye, and dye, vegetable oil, petrochemical industries. Explain the scientific method of inquiry using specific examples. So these are the things the teacher will teach you, and then probably take you for excursion to some of the industrial chemical plants in your locality. We at Sunshine Resources will try to show you pictures, live pictures, videos of some of these chemical industries and how they operate in their production processes. So just make sure you follow our videos serially. Then week 3, chemical industries. Chemical industries. Here you'll be exposed to types of chemical industries, their importance to individual and to the nation, their importance to individuals and to the nation. Then the teacher will show you pictures of some local industries to guide you to identify chemical industries in this Nigeria. Initiate and guide discussions on the economic importance of chemical industries. This is very important because industries are for manufacturing of goods, and then when these goods are manufactured, they have to be sold out to people, and that is where the economics of those things will come in. All right, week 3, still on chemical. We're now on chemical industry. That's week 3. We're now on chemical industry. Here you'll be seeing types of chemical industries, their importance, and then to individual and nation. Sorry, we've talked about that earlier, and now we'll still go week 4. Now we're going to week 4 now. Week 4. Week 4, still on chemical industries, excursion to chemical industries. Here it is mandatory that your teacher have to prepare you for an excursion, at least to some of the chemical industries in your locality. Students are supposed to go on a field trip to some of these chemical industries. Now, as a student, you should know that this is what your teachers are supposed to do, and so you can remind them or tell them if they did not do that. Now, students are supposed to be guided to observe the processes going on in the industries, the various ways these industries degrade the environment. This is also very important. Suggest ways of reducing environmental problems. And then the instructional resources here are chemical industries in the locality. So your teacher should be able to take you around some of the local industries in our environment here, or where your school is situated. Okay, that's for week 4, and now we're in week 5. Week 5, we will start standard separation techniques for mixtures. Standard separation technique for mixtures. Number 1, classification of substances. Number 2, filtration, evaporation, decantation, flotation, frustation, crystallization, and fractional crystallization. These are processes by which you can separate mixtures. So your teacher is supposed to guide you to understand underlying principle behind the choice of a separation technique for a particular mixture. The teacher is supposed to demonstrate the method of separation. Instructional resources here is water, sand, common salt, filter paper, and evaporation dish. So these are the things you are going to cover in week 5. Now let's move on to week 6. Week 6 here says standard separation technique for mixtures. Still on standard separation technique for mixtures, you have distillation and fractional distillation. We're going to cover all these things: distillation and fractional distillation. You have precipitation, you have magnetization, and then your teacher is supposed to expose you to instructional resources like lead beam condenser and some magnets. And then from there we move to week 7. Week 7 here is still on standard separation technique for mixtures. Now we're going to talk about another separation technique called chromatography. Chromatography, and then you have sublimation, and then you have pure and impure substances. Under teacher's activity, you have demonstrate the determination of melting point for solid and boiling point for liquid. And the instructional resources here are ink, separating funnel, cubes of sugar. Okay, that is all for week 7, and now we are moving to week 8. And now in week 8, we're going to study particulate nature of matter. Particulate nature of matter. Here we're going to deal with physical and chemical changes. And this is when we will now introduce you to the building block of matter, and that is atom and molecules. Atoms and molecules. And the third one here is Dalton atomic theory, theories that explain the particulate nature of matter. The teacher will demonstrate physical and chemical changes using simple examples like burning of candle, salt dissolved in water, or burning of magnesium ribbon, and the preparation of pap, that's in our local palace here, Akamo, and starch. And the teacher also guides students to make chalk. That's what I told you in my intro video. We're going to teach you how to make chalk here. Chalk is a commodity that is used in our schools, despite the prevalence of whiteboard, but some rural areas still use blackboard. And so chalk is a very essential commodity that you can manufacture and package and even sell it and make money out of it. And that is one of the things that at Sunshine Resources we're going to guide you on how to do some of these things. So you can see this is one of them. We're going to take you through all of them. So instructional resources are water, common salt, sugar, candle, matches, model, color beads, calcium carbonate, and calcium tricarbonate. And that is all for week 8. Now let's go to week 9, and still on particulate nature of matter. Now we're going to look at the constituent of atoms. Then you have the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons. And then we're going to see arrangement of electrons in the nucleus. And the teacher will guide students to calculate the empirical formula from percentage composition. And that's all for week 9, and then we come to week 10, particulate nature of matter. Still, we're going to look at atomic number, mass number, and isotopy. Isotopy is a concept. We'll come to that very soon. And then number 2, we go to relative atomic mass based on carbon-14 isotope. So the teacher should guide the student to calculate relative molecular mass of a compound. And you can see that that is all for week 10. Week 11 is revision week. Week 11 is revision week. Week 12, if you are still in school, you're supposed to start examination at that time. Week 13 also is for examination. As you can see, that's all for first term SS1. And now let's move to second term SS1. Second term SS1. Alright, this is second term SS1. Periodic table. The first thing you're going to treat in your second term SS1 is the periodic table. Here you're going to study the first 20 elements. The teacher is going to guide you to identifying the first 20 elements. You're going to draw the electronic configuration of these elements. Place this element in their proper position on blank periodic table template, and you should be able to explain the types of bonds and their characteristics. And that is after you have studied types of bond of these elements, or when they combine with each other, the types of bond that they form. You're going to study type of bonds. For example, interatomic bond, example electrovalent or ionic bond, coordinate bond or dative bond, and also metallic bond. So this is what you will do in week 1 in your first term second term SS1. Now this is week 2 now, still on chemical combination, types of bond continued. Weak bond, example hydrogen bond, van der Waals forces, dipole to dipole force of attraction, what is generally referred to as intramolecular bond. And then you have system of naming compounds, the conventional IUPAC, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. They say you should know that any of these two naming systems is acceptable in this level, at this level. Okay, teacher will use simple demonstration to illustrate the type of bond in common substances like camphor, common salt, sulfur, etc. Student to write conventional and IUPAC names of common substances. The teacher is going to use instructional resources like sugar, camphor ball, some liquid, example oil or water, and aerosol. And that's all for week 2, second term SS1. Now let's go to second term SS1 week 3, chemical combination. Still on chemical combination. Now we're going to treat state of matter, which consists of the solid, the liquid, and the gaseous states. And then we'll look at the kinetic theory and its application. Kinetic theory. Now let's look at teacher's activity. Initiate class discussion on state of matter, kinetic theory, and change of state. So that's all for week 3. Now let's go to week 4. Symbols, formula, and equation. Symbols, formula, and equation. Here you have chemical symbols of elements and their valences, and then the empirical and molecular formula. The teacher is going to guide the student to write chemical symbols and formula correctly. Guide the student to write and balance chemical equations. Also guide the student to calculate the empirical and molecular formula of compound. Perform experiment to illustrate conservation of mass. So these are the things you will do in week 4 in your second term SS1. Still on symbols, formula, and equation, week 5, that's what you're going to continue with. You have laws of constant composition, law of multiple proportions, and chemical equations. The teacher will perform experiment to illustrate law of constant composition, law of multiple proportion, to guide the student to report the experiment in the correct formats. Okay, now let's move to week 6. In week 6, we're going to study gas laws. In week 6, we're going to study gas laws. You have the Boyle's law, you have the Charles law, and you have the general gas equation. The Boyle's law and the general. Now you're going to define Boyle's law and Charles law. Illustrate Boyle's and Charles law. You're going to use some medium to illustrate them, and then write equations for both laws. This is very important. Week 7, still on gas law, Gay-Lussac law, Avogadro's law, and the ideal gas equation. The teacher will perform experiment to explain the laws, the effect of temperature on the volume of the gas, also effect of pressure on the volume of the gas. And week 8, we're going to look at Graham's law. We'll look at Graham's law, molar volume of gases. Then we'll look at Avogadro's number and the mole concept, and then calculation based on the gas laws. Then definition of gases. Example, cotton wool soaked in ammonia solution and conch HCl. Volumes, relations in gas reactions. States Gay-Lussac's, Avogadro's, and Graham's law. At the end of the day, you should be able to state these laws very, very coherently. So that is what we will do in week 8. Now let's go to week 9. Here you have acid, bases, and salts. Characteristics, preparation, reaction, and uses of acid, bases, and salt. And week 10 also you have acid, bases, and salt. You have 2 relative acidity and alkalinity, that is the pH scale. And then you also have the deliquescent, fluorescent, and hygroscopic substances. We're going to study all these substances. Week 11, you're still going to treat acid, bases, and salt. And this time around, you're going to study solubility of salt in water. Solubility of salt in water. And week 12 is going to be revision, as you can see here. Week 13 is going to be examination. Week 14 is going to be examination. So that is all for second term SS1. And now let's move to third term SS1. So these are the things you're going to cover in second term SS1. Now we are on third term SS1. The first thing here is water. First and foremost, water. Then you're going to identify sources of water, types of water. Here you have soft and hard water. Then you have water pollutants. What are the things that pollute your water? Then uses of water. Then laboratory preparation of water. So these are the things we're going to be studying in third term SS1, week 1. And now let's go to week 2. Week 2, carbon and its compounds. Carbon and its compound. Here we'll be looking at the carbon structure. Carbon structure. The structure of carbon. Then you have allotropes of carbon. You have charcoal, graphite, and diamond. And then we're going to look at the structure and properties of all the allotropes of carbon. This is very, very important. And then in week 3, still on carbon and its compound, we'll study coal. Coal, which is another allotrope of carbon, different types of industrial distillation of coal, and we'll also look at the uses of coal. Still on carbon and the compound, we're going to look at coke and what we call gasification and uses. All right. Still on week 4 is carbon and the compound. Here we're going to look at the oxide of carbon, carbon 4 oxide and carbon and carbon 2 oxide, and then synthetic gas, manufacturing and uses. So that's all for week 4. We're going to week 5 now, third term week 5. Carbon and its compound, and they still have carbonic acid, triiosocarbonate 4 acid. These are the things you will do in week 5. Carbonic acid, any other carbonate. You're going to study this with any other carbonate alongside with carbonic acid, that is also called triiosocarbonate 4 acid. And then week 6, we are still on carbon and compound, hydrocarbon and its main classes. Hydrocarbon and its main classes. We'll just introduce you to hydrocarbon and its main classes here. By the time we get to organic chemistry, then we'll do the detail of hydrocarbon here. So that is all for week 6. Week 7, we'll go to carbon and its compound, crude oil and natural gas. Crude oil and natural gas. And now we're going to talk about the importance of hydrocarbon in week 7. And week 8, we will basically tell you detail about hydrocarbons, their structure, valency of carbon in the compound, then the meaning and examples of hydrocarbon. Then we'll introduce you to a term referred to as homologous series, characteristics and naming of IUPAC naming of hydrocarbons. And we'll also introduce you to saturated and the unsaturated hydrocarbons. That is all for week 8. Week 9, we still have hydrocarbons. Other concept we're going to introduce you to is isomerism. Isomerism. And then you also have unsaturated hydrocarbon composition and structure. And then we'll also introduce you to aromatic hydrocarbon, such as the benzene. Then week 10 will take you a little bit further into still on hydrocarbon, petroleum, or what we generally call crude oil, the origin and composition of crude oil, Nigerian and world crude oil reserve, exploration and drilling of crude oil, and fractional distillation. That is for week 10. Week 11 would also take you through petrol or crude oil. Talking here now about petrochemicals as a starting material or organic synthesis. You will notice that most of the distillate from crude oil are used as raw materials for most industries. So we're going to look at some of these distillates as they are used for synthesis in most chemical industries. And then we also have quality of petrol, meaning of octane number, and then you have natural gas. So as you can see, that is week 11, and that's all that we're going to cover in week 11 Week 12 is revision, week 13 is examination, and week 14 is also examination. So that is all for chemistry SS1 from first term to third term.